Well, y'all, I figured that I'd, make a video, right? Because what else is there to do besides watch videos? No, I mean I'm being a little self-deprecating about that, but there's been a lot that's been on my mind lately, as it is for basically everybody, right? Um, life decisions, more lack thereof, and just like everything that's been festering in this world that we're living in, right? But um, something that I wanted to, you know, kind of have a I guess discussion about. Well, really, it's just a talk because I'm not talking with anyone. Is how difficult. I don't say that. I guess how challenging it is to be a man. Okay, and not just a man, like, but also to be stoic, right? Like to have this like frame and this groundness about you. And when the stuff gets going, like it doesn't bother you. This is something that I have personally struggled with pretty much most of my life. And I think a lot of that is attributed to my childhood. And I know it's like an easy answer to say, right? Your childhood, your past, trauma, baggage, whatever. But what you experience when you grow up is usually going to follow you into your adulthood, right? You know, it's simple things like asking for help, right? If you don't know how to do something, you have two options: you either ask for help or you don't, right? Or three, you try to figure out yourself. um, but for young men, when it comes to asking for help for something, especially asking older men, or even if it's like not someone who's necessarily older than you, but they have more experience in whatever it is, you could get this answer of, well, you don't know how to do that. You're a grown man, or you're a man. You're supposed to know how to do this. It's like, well, guess what? Excuse me. There's a lot of things I don't know. I'm man enough to admit that. And I didn't come out of my mom knowing how to file taxes, build a house, and, you know, get water out of a well. So it would be fantastic if you showed me how to do it. And not just that, but do it and be like, hey, sure, I can show you how to do this. I'll show you how to do it and I'll let you try it. But I'll also watch you just to make sure that nothing bad happens, right? Or whatever. And I feel like a lot of that is like life lessons for young men, because you got to think, not all young men, and I'll use myself example. Like my father, he was in my life, like physically, but he was very busy with his career. He was public safety. So, you know, during the time of me growing up as a child, and after my dad and my biological mother split, which was when I was 3 turning 4, you know, there was a period of time where it was just me and my dad. But again, he was at work this time, or I was in school, or doing something else, right? Now, I've had other stepmoms and motherly figures, if you want to call it that, in my life throughout my childhood, but every one of them was different, and they were not my mom, okay? But, all that stuff, and I mean, there's so much more to the story, but that plays into how I am today, right? And how I see things today, and how I act on things, or like kind of ponder on stuff, right? And I kind of talked about this in the last video, or yeah, the first video, excuse me, about being like indecisive with certain decisions, or not like sticking to through it because of fear of like either rejection, not being good enough, and feeling like I would let everybody down, to include myself. Because if I let people down, and I know I did, I'm super hard on myself. And I'm very remorseful for it. Like, I understand that people know, like, you make mistakes, but sometimes, like, when people get mad at you for doing something that you didn't mean to do, and you feel like you're attacked, because you're like, well, maybe I shouldn't have done it anyways. Maybe you should have hired somebody else or whatever. You start like throwing out all these different statements of self-deprecation because it's like your defense mechanism, and that's what it is for me. I'll own up to something if I was wrong. Like, I'll give you an example. Um, so since I work for Amazon, I'm a delivery driver, right? DSP. There's times where I've accidentally delivered a package to a wrong address because I'm moving too fast. I didn't, really use my observational skills too well. Whatever the deal was, right? It happens. You're human. But sometimes you get the people who are like, you get one of two options. You get, oh, hey, it's no biggie, especially if I own up to it. I'm like, hey, I'm sorry, I was in a rush, I wasn't paying attention, whatever. And most people understand. But then you get people who are like, you delivered my package. It's like, really? Like, do we have to go from 0 to 100 like that? Like, is that really that necessary? I mean, for me, I wouldn't do that as far as, like, if somebody delivered to the wrong address. Especially if it's literally just up the street or, like, right, like, across the street. Like, to me, it's not that deep, right? It's not like you ran into my truck or something. You know what I mean? But anyways, the point I'm saying is, a lot of times when we feel like we're being attacked, it gives us, like, that confirmation bias of, yep, we're not good enough. Or, yep, like, this is no bueno, right? I have a little itch, but I'm good. And so for me, I've been like lately, if I made a mistake, I own up to it and I move on. If I have something that I want to say, I just keep it to myself, because sometimes if you say something, people think you're directing it towards them. Like if they say like, "Oh, you delivered the package to the wrong address," and you're like, "I know I did." They're like, "Oh, you give me attitude, you give me lip." So it's like the old saying goes: if you don't have anything nice to say, or just don't say anything at all, just keep it to yourself. Keep it like a stoic kind of approach to it, and just move on. And that's what I do. Or I might like laugh it off, like, I messed up. Yeah, look at me. Like, am I messing around? Am I tripping? Or whatever. But basically, this is something that I've struggled with. I'm getting better at. And again, I do admit when I'm wrong. If I went to the wrong address, it happened. I did it. Or if I, like, sometimes I'll catch myself, like, about to, finish the delivery, like, put it at the front door, but it says garage, or it says this or that or whatever. So, I stop myself. So then I don't have to worry about it. I'm like, sigh of relief, right? But I think the thing is I think the reason that people are like that is now, especially more so, is because a lot of people are just on edge right now. Like the state of the economy, just people's general well-being is not it's not up to par, right? It's not in a position where people feel comfortable. And I will say that I'm kind of going off on a little tangent here, but like community is becoming less and less of a thing. And if it is still a thing, it's diverted in a different way. Like it's not like, hey Bob down the street, hey Bill. It's not one of those things anymore. Like how many of us know our neighbors' names and like actually do things in our neighborhood? Most people do not. There are, yes, I know there's some I'm sure there's some, but most people, we work a lot. We're very busy. We're very active, whether we want to be or not. So we don't really have time for people, right? But we can make time for people, okay? That the people that we care about and that we cherish. So again, like right now, I think a lot of people are just really concerned about, the landscape of this country in terms of finances, politics, the whole shebang, the typical stuff, right? The things that keep us wired up all the time. It's like, oh, what are we going to do? And that's probably why people are the way they are right now. And I get it. It's understandable. Or like as Jack Morgan says, it's classic. Oh, he's so awesome. Oh, and Jack Denmo, that's the man. A couple of the people, LFA. There's some YouTubers that I've watched, content creators. They're raw, they're uncut. They tell it like it is. They got great stories, very triumphant stories. But anyways, yeah, it's sad, man. And I wish I can go back to being a kid. Like, can we just, like, seriously? I mean, I like being an adult. It's cool and all, but, like, I mean, yes, I understand. You as a man, you as an adult, you had the power to change your life and to do things and to make change or make something out of nothing. But it seems like now it's such like this, it's like pulling teeth from a horse, which I wouldn't do that, but it's um such a draining experience, right? So, and nobody knows when their time's up. So you kind of just play this game of like, well, it is what it is, right? You're just kind of flowing in the wind. And something I was talking with my dad about the other day when I had brunch with him was I'm not necessarily jealous of people who know what they wanted to do or who knew what they wanted to do, like when they got out of high school or before. But because I don't like to be jealous of people, I'm not. But I wish I had that mind or like that mindset that like, oh, I want to go be a astrophysicist or something. I don't know, and I just go and do it. But there's a lot of limiting beliefs and things that you hear from like outside influences and things that you just like conjure up in your head that prevent you from doing these things because you're like, well, I'm not smart enough, or I don't have the right words on my application or my resume, or I don't have the connections, I don't have the height, I don't have the stature, the eye color, or whatever. Like, it's all these things that we throw in our heads and then we put out into the world, through words, and then it becomes real. So, yeah, I mean, I'm sure I'm one in a billion people that think this way. Good for me, right? And when I look at myself, like, if I had a nice haircut, I mean, yeah, I'm an okay looking guy. I'm not special. I have a clean shave. I got a little bit of. I just started getting some of this acne here. That might just because my skin's a little oily. I do clean my skin every day. I use CeraVe and I moisturize it. But now that it's starting to warm up and get more humid outside, being on the East Coast, my skin's gonna be more like that kind of look to it, I guess. I don't know. But yeah, that's what I look like close up. And this is something that I've always been insecure about right here. This mole. I think I got this when I was like 13. I remember waking up and seeing it, and I told my grandma, I was like, Grandma, I got something on my face. She's like, what? I'm like, this. She's like, oh, it's just a mole. I'm like, I don't like it. And I got a couple other moles on my body. I got one here on my chest, one here on my shoulder, and like one on my knee, but they're really small. But the point is like, I'm so hard on myself because, deep down, and honestly, like, I wish I looked a little different. Like, I wish I had, everybody, I'm sure, has felt like this, right? They wish they had things that they don't have, right? Certain hair color or texture, height, stature, obviously family dynamics, right? So, like, being born into a, not just like a wealthy family, but a family that is, they're doing pretty well, right? But you know what? To be honest, like, would that really make me even more happy, like, as a person? Like, would I feel more fulfilled just because I was born in a more wealthier family? Like, I don't know, maybe, but hey, it is what it is, right? We can't choose the cards that we're dealt, but we can play them, right? So, anyways, that's pretty much all I have to say, at least right now. I went off on a few other little tangents, but the point of this video was, being a man is challenging each and every day. Not every day is going to be the same. I don't care what your job is, your occupation, career, field, whatever. It's challenging. You're single, you're married, you got a couple flings, whatever. I'm single, and I'm going to say this right now. I've been single for my whole life, basically. Okay? I only had a girlfriend, like, for one day in middle school, and I'll tell this story later on another video, but I don't count that, right? And she broke up with me. Classic. Excellent. But no, I haven't had no dates. Like, I've been on dating apps and all other stuff to entertain him and thought I could get an easy snatch, but it's not worth it. You're just spinning wheels in mud, right? So honestly, if you're gonna try to date people, I would say meet them organically, go out. But the problem is like the thing is people seem just real standoffish and awkward. Like, I don't like going to situations where there's awkwardness, and I know the onus is on the man to start a conversation, to carry it, and to have context, and to just be like, boom, 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 boom. But if you're not used to doing it, obviously you got to do something enough times to get better at it and get like desensitized. But again, it's you got to be careful nowadays, right? um, but anyways, I'm gonna go and cut this off. I do make voice memos. They're not on Spotify. They're not on any like streaming app or anything like that. So it's not something that you can necessarily hear. But they're like kind of podcast style because it's just audio, right? And I'm just kind of going off the dome and talking about things that are relevant to me and others and the times. So who knows? At some point they could be on a website or on an app, and will I get paid for it or not is what it is. But hey, you can get a good laugh out of it. There's some there's some stuff I talk about on there, like actually no. But yeah, so anyways, peace, love to the world and the earth, whatever you believe in, don't believe in, hang in there. Things are going to turn around in due time, right? God's timing. 222, that's my number. I've been seeing it everywhere. So anyways, adios amigos, au revoir.